loud. Yes, ma'am. Don't make me do it again. Welcome, everyone. We'll begin our service today with a gathering hymn. Please rise and bow your spirit to sing number 1022, Open the Window.
This is this new one. It's short. We're gonna play it through once. And we're gonna sing all the verses because it's fun.
Yes, they're hidden at the bottom.
Yeah, they're down at the bottom of the second page. So we're gonna play it through once and then we'll start.
Well, good morning. Welcome to the Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Oxford. I'm Chad Wisnett. I will be your worship associate today. Whether you're a longtime member or first-time visitor, you're welcome here. You're invited to be present with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands to help. In this congregation, we uphold our Unitarian Universalist values and principles. We come together today to acknowledge our interdependence, honor the spirit of generosity, work for justice and equity, and explore the possibilities of transformation. It is good to be together in this pluralistic community, this congregation that centers love in all that we do. Now, we have many announcements this morning. First of all, in your order of service, there are several that I'd like to highlight here. The extension of our stewardship campaign, so that's still going on. Soul Matters will be next week from 9:30 to 10:30, so that's before the service next Sunday. And there's a lot of community activities on the second page there. I'd like to highlight the life dance class. It's going to be starting soon. That's with Elaine Gelbard. We have several written down here. So Ms. Sufino says this is a reminder that there is a No Kings March on the Oxford Square at the city building area on March 28th. That's this Saturday. Please come if you're able. That's from 10 to 12, so 10 to noon. And going along with that, if you're interested, there's a sign making party at the Fino House on Friday, March 27th for the No King signs. It'll be from 4 to 5 with a potluck following. If you'd like any more information about that, get with Miss Sue. Their address is 1030 Augusta Drive. And this is from Andy, next Sunday after the service, so that's 3/29. We will clean up the downed limbs near the fence between the two properties, so right down here. Wear some work clothes, help us tidy things up. It shouldn't take long with 5 to 7 willing volunteers. And on that note, we had a great turnout at Miss Cheryl's house yesterday for Cheryl and Michaeline. We got a lot cleaned up. There's still a lot to do, but we made a big dent in their cleanup efforts. So I thank all y'all that came out for that. We had a good time and only minorly scratched up. So as a reminder, our grief, gratitude, and growth slips are available from the greeter. If you have a moment you'd like to share, please write it down and drop your slip in the collection basket during the offering so they can be read aloud later in the service. And now Michelle will help us enter into a time of sacred celebration.
Thank you, Chad. And good morning. I'm Michelle Moth-Harvey. I'm a member of the board and your speaker today. As unsettled as we are likely to be from March's whipsawed weather to wars and global turmoil, to our own personal challenges and often insurmountable opportunities, let us settle in here now. As a grounding practice, I invite you to a moment of a deep breath. Whatever practice feels right for you, breathe in some peace and let out love, and let us begin our time together. Our call to celebration today is a poem called Today by Billy Collins, and it's one of my favorites. If ever there were a warm day so perfect, so uplifted by a warm, intermittent breeze, that it made you want to throw open all the windows in the house and unlatch the door to the canary's cage, indeed rip the little door from its jamb, a day when the cool brick paths and the garden bursting with peonies seemed so etched in sunlight that you felt like taking a hammer to the glass paperweight on the living room end table, releasing the inhabitants from their snow-covered cottage so they could walk out, holding hands and squinting into this larger dome of blue and white. Well, today is just that kind of day.
Thank you, Michelle. Billy Collins is one of my favorites. If you haven't explored his works, please do. He's great. We gather as people of all ages, of different abilities, different backgrounds, and different perspectives. We share a covenant, a direction for our shared journey, and a commitment to encourage and challenge one another to spiritual growth. This path will ask much from us. Let us move forward with love. Let us move forward with appreciation for one another. Let us move forward knowing we are not alone. Whoever you are, whatever your gifts, you're welcome to join this journey. To remind us that we're not alone and to welcome and strengthen the bonds of belonging and celebrate what is possible, let us offer one another a gesture of holy hospitality. You're invited to share a moment with the folks around you, extend a hand in peace, offer a hug, or perhaps a word of welcome. As a practice of consent, if you would prefer not to engage in this ritual, simply put your hand over your heart and folks will honor your choice. And now please turn to the person on your left and right and briefly greet your neighbor.
Here we are.
I always hate to start and then stop such a happy chatter, but please, I hope you'll continue that after the service. I lost my place. Our chalice lighting, now with heart centered in love, let us light the sacred symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Our chalice lighting this morning is Joy and Power That Grow by Jamie Yandel. I'll read it and Chad will light the chalice. We light this chalice for the quiet truths we carry and for the futures we're brave enough to write. In this circle, we honor the courage it takes to live openly, the softness that sustains us, and the joy and power that grow when we gather. As the chalice flows, may we feel steadiness rise in us. May we trust that our becoming, messy, radiant, unfolding, wholly belongs to us. And so we light this chalice for the holy work of showing up, and as a reminder to all of us to let our love shine brightly for all the world to see. Now, please rise and body your spirit as we sing our community hymn, number 1021. She's going to come after your story. 1021. Stand and body your spirit as you are able. Everything this morning is in the teal hymnal, by the way. All right, and now Wendy is going to share.
All right. And the mistake in the order of service is all mine, by the way. I jumped the gun. I think Gwen knew what she was doing and I didn't realize Gwen knew what she, anyway. So the story is mine. It is Clever Hans, typo also mine. But before we begin, I need to ask, I don't have the Wonder Box. Did anyone find a penny on the floor today? You did. Well, wonderful, Marty. What face did it show to you? Which side of it did you have? Do you know? Yeah, which side of the penny? Was face up. It was face up. Does anyone know what that means if you find a face up penny?
Pick it up all day long.
Good luck.
Good luck, right? So Marty Fino, luckiest man for today. This is wonderful. Congratulations, yes. Sure. All right, so now it is story time.
Story time.
Okay. So our story today, I've been trying to mix it up and do all the around the world stories and real stories and folk stories, but we're going to do another Grimm story today because it was just perfect. There are many clever Hans stories. This one is Hans in luck. Okay. So there was once a young man who had already sought his fortune. So many stories are about a man going out to seek his fortune or a young woman. This is one who already found it. He had worked for 7 years as an apprentice, and it came time. He went to his master and he said, "I'm ready to go home. Will you give me my 7 years of wages?" And so his master said, "Sure," and handed him a big, heavy chunk of silver. Hans took it very happily and started down the road, but that silver was so heavy. He tried wearing it on his back, he tried putting it on his head, but it was the most he could do just to keep one foot in front of the other and not fall down as he walked down the road. It's going to take me forever, he thought. Just then, a fine gentleman on a horse rode by. He looked so easy and happy riding there that Hans envied him. And he said, "That's a nice horse you've got there." And the gentleman looked at Hans and saw that chunk of silver and thought, "It's a nice chunk of silver he's got there." He said, "Young man, I think you've got a heavy load to carry there. Let me take it off of you. I tell you what, I'll give you my horse in return, and then you can ride easily along the road." And Hans thought, "What luck, of course. I would love to have the horse. Here, take my silver." And he felt very lucky indeed as he rode on the horse. Now, at some point, Hans decided, "I want this horse to go a little faster. It's not quite making the pace I'd like." So he kicked it to get it to go faster. But Hans had seen this done and never actually ridden a horse before. The horse bucked him off into the road and he fell down and it hurt and he was muddy and he was like, "This horse, I don't want to ride it anymore. That was terrible." So he began walking along the road with the horse. Pretty soon he came upon a farmer. The farmer had a milk cow that he was leading to market. And Hans looked at the cow and he thought, "I'm so thirsty, what I wouldn't give for a glass of milk." And the farmer looked at the horse and thought, "That's a very nice horse. And this young man looks like he's eyeing my cow." And he said to Hans, "Would you like to trade for my cow? It gives milk. Later on, you could get cheese." And Hans said, "Yes, of course. I would love take this horse. I'll take the cow. This is great. What a good deal." And so Hans went into the town leading the cow. Well, Hans stopped at one point and decided it was time to have that milk. So he tried to get the milk going. The cow wasn't really having it. He tried harder. It was the wrong time of day. The cow kicked him in the head. Hans was like, "This is not working. This cow is not going to give me milk. What am I to do?" Just then a butcher came along and he had a pig with him. And he said to Hans, "You know, that cow doesn't look like he'll give much milk or she'll give much milk. She would make a fine beef cow though." And Hans said, "I don't like beef." And he said, "Well, do you like pork? I've got this fine little pig right here." And Hans said, "Yes, that would be fantastic." And so they traded and Hans said, "I am so lucky." And he took his pig with him. And as Hans went, he began to think, how am I going to butcher this pig? What am I going to do with the meat? How am I going to get it to my mom's? And he was thinking all of this through when he came upon a man who had a little goose tucked under his arm. And the man looked at Hans and he said to him, "You know, there is a stolen pig that the squire is looking for. You could get in trouble for having that pig. But you know, I have this fine little goose here. It's going to give lots of fat. It's a great goose for just one meal for just one person." And Hans thought, "That's perfect for me. All I need is one meal for me, and I can get rid of this pig that apparently might be stolen property. Perfect. I'm so lucky." And so he made the trade. Hans walked off with the goose under his arm, feeling good about life, And he thought, now I just need to get my knife sharp enough to kill this goose so I can eat it. Where am I going to do that? And he found a scissor grinder who had a grindstone and could sharpen tools. And the scissor grinder saw Hans and he looked at him and he thought, you know, this guy, I think I could make a deal with him, just like everyone else who had met Hans. And he said, you know, young man, you eat a goose, you get one meal. But if you learn to sharpen scissors and knives and things, then you will always have money in your pocket and you can buy more meals. And Hans thought, that's right, that's a good investment. So he traded his goose for an old sharpening stone that the grinder had. And he walked off very happy with himself. Well, that stone was heavy. And Hans came to a river and he thought, I'm going to drink some water. And he bent down. And as he did, the stone fell out of his arms and into the river. And Hans took his drink and he said, you know, that stone was really slowing me down. I'm going to make some good time getting home to Mom. I am so lucky to have lost that stone. And off he went. And he walked through the door of his mother's house. And she said, welcome home, Hans. What have you brought? And he said, I have brought the very best luck of anyone in the world. And that is the story of clever Hans. Was he clever? Was he lucky? I leave you to decide. Story time.
And now we're going to invite Susan Zackos up to share a moment of light as we look toward the finish of our stewardship campaign, which will wrap up on March 31st.
Thank you, Michelle. I was actually told that it would be a 5 minutes of light. So that's kind of what I thought I would give you. Is that okay? All right. All right. So, and part of that was to be like, why am I here? Why do I love you? Why am I here? Well, I think 2 Sundays ago, I was up here telling you I came for the food. And that is still true. But why did I stay? Well, I stayed for the principles. The discovery that we are not a creedal community, that we are not pressed in believing in a certain dogma or pursuing one spiritual path was so freeing to me. It was kind of mind-blowing for me. The fact that we embrace principles instead, that is why I stayed. And the first principle, so we're going back to first principles here, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Just imagine if every person in the world felt valued, simply valued for being here on this earth. Imagine what it would be like. It would be like the John Lennon song. Just imagine. There's no need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man, or as we might say, a community of humanity. So each person will be valued for their own self, not for their heritage or their wealth, their credentials, their parentage, or for the accident or circumstance of their birth. Imagine if the baseline was your inherent worth and human dignity recognized by everyone, everywhere. I mean, let's face it, the only thing that really lifts us up, lifts us so that we can experience that is community. We cannot do it alone. So this, I find here, this community, and it's great that Chet is here this morning. Your story of how you came to UU was extremely inspiring to me. And if you didn't hear it, you can ask him sometime, he might tell you. So I'm gonna pivot right now. I'm gonna pivot to the F word, which is fundraising. And I see it happening. When you hear that word, do you sort of look at your shoes and start trying to find your way to the door? I used to be that person because, you know, money is unmentionable, right? In our culture. We learned as little kids, you never mention money. You don't ask how much something costs. You don't ask how much someone earns. And it certainly was uncomfortable to ask for money. That was just bad manners. Among other things, it makes you vulnerable. It might take you back to when you were a little kid and you needed that new pair of sneakers on which your social life and your future depended, and you had to ask grandma or mom, and you were afraid they couldn't afford them or they would say no. Maybe when you were 16 and you had to ask to borrow a car or for gas money. You got a lecture on your own shortcomings, pretty much. And when you did ask, you were opening yourself to embarrassment, humiliation, or at least disappointment. So with all this acculturation, I was that person edging toward the door. No one's going to make me do something so risky and rude as to ask for money. I'm grown up. I don't have to do that anymore. So about 30 years ago, I was on the board of an organization and we had some fundraising training. And the woman was named Kim Klein, who did that. And she was amazing, smart, funny, charismatic. And after that training, I couldn't wait to ask people for money. But only for causes that I was passionate about, for causes that I had already donated to myself and believed in with my whole being. That is really the key. In a nutshell, I learned that 8 out of 10 people, not just in the US, but worldwide, give money. People want to give. It's in our nature to give. What is the most important factor in why someone will give you money? A, B, or C? Is it A, ability? Oh, they're a rich person. It's not going to affect their bottom line. No problem. They'll give you money. Is it their belief in a cause? Or is it their connection? You know, this is where your favorite charity wants your contact list so that they can try to embarrass your 100 best friends into giving money. And the next time they see you, they're going to look the other way. What surprised me is the answer is the belief in the cause. So does this person that you're asking have an emotional response to the cause? That is the most important element in being successful in asking for money. Those are the connection. You may think that was it, but once that connection is gone, they'll stop giving. Or once they don't see you anymore, you don't go to coffee with them, they won't give the next time. But belief is the one that really does it. So, the other important factor is it is well known that you will not receive a donation unless you ask. So you got to ask for it. So with that information, I overcame the power of that F word, and I developed these standards for myself. Before I ever ask anyone to give money, I find the chance to tell them why I am passionate about the gift. Whether it's a cause, whether it's an organization, whether it's an event, whether it's a mission. And I never ask anyone to give unless I've already given myself. And I will tell them that I've given. This is really important to me. And because it's so important, you know, I give a check every month, or I give, you know, MPB, they're on my monthly give list or whatever it is. And when I do ask for money, I am asking that person to join me in something that I believe in. I am really inviting you to become part of something important. And when I am genuine, when I am positive and passionate about that, and people feel it, then the asking will feel natural and right. So for any organization that I care about, I have a sort of elevator speech. I tell people why I'm passionate about it. And in each case, I'm genuine. Because remember, money is also a form of speech. And when you can't be out there doing, you can give money and support the cause. And that's another way of saying you're passionate about it and you care. So let's go to UUCO. UUCO of Oxford, this is what I would say. Actually, well, these are some facts. They require each member to make an annual, and although we have no set required amount, members donate between $25 and $3,000 annually. And with our membership of less than 100, I don't know what the current number is right now, but 60, and a few loyal friends, we remain strong in Oxford. And much more than that, as Unitarians, we have a deep commitment to our shared principles. And the most important of those to me is the inherent worth and dignity of every person. That is why we share the plate with our community. That is why we support the Pride Parade every year. That is why Sue Fino heads out to Fed Up Fridays in front of the federal courthouse every Friday at noon. And that is why so many, like me, have felt embraced by our community in my search for a welcoming space in Oxford, regardless of my spiritual journey, as have many others felt. That's why I contribute to be a part of that extraordinary commitment of dedication and love. And that's why I'm asking you to join me in pledging and giving for this year. So let's do that so that we enter the coming year together, knowing that our finances are sound, our gathering place will be here for us. We can continue to welcome others, and we can always stand on the side of love. So if you leave here today, that happy chatter that was just mentioned, maybe turn to someone in practice. Tell them why you are passionate about being a Unitarian Universalist. Tell them that you have pledged or that you intend to pledge, and invite them to do the same. That's it.
That was a perfect lead-in to our office.
In the words of Elena Westbrook, far too often we are forced to confront the terrible things that people can do to each other. When these things happen, all we can do is come together in places like this church to remind ourselves that there is still hope, there is still love, there are still good-hearted people who can look unblinking into the storm and continue to believe a calm, bright morning will come. This community is a refuge where we can keep the ember of hope alive when all the world seems intent on dousing it. And then we can use our little ember to light a beacon for the rest of the world. Our offerings each week sustain this community so that we can share our small embers to light a dark world. Please give generously so that we can all together help spread that light. Our morning offering is always split, with half going to our monthly Share the Plate designee and half going to support the mission of UUCO. Our Share the Plate recipient this month is Oxford Pride. The goals and objectives of Oxford Pride are to continue to provide a space for inclusion and learning about the university and Oxford's queer community through a combination of social and academic programming. Last year, the university dropped all supportive funding for the Pride organization. Also, please remember to drop any notes of grief, gratitude, and growth, joys and sorrows in the offering basket as they go around. Our morning offering will now be graciously received.
By the work, excuse me, by the work of our hands, work of our hearts, our love is made real. As we acknowledge our,
May we be grateful for all that is given, grateful for all that is shared. Now let us enter into the ritual like the one before us that asks us to be vulnerable in our expression and gracious in our witness, so that we may share what is in our hearts and laid at the altar of community and spirit. Using a pebble dropped into a bowl of water to symbolize the ripple effects of the events of our lives, excuse me, upon the larger community. We will now share the grief, gratitude, and moments of growth that have touched our lives since we were last together. The pollen is catching up. Our first pebble is one of gratitude for our visitors and friends. We offer a warm welcome to you. We are so happy you are here today. Our second pebble is one of grief for the world events. There are so many that we suffer from afar and that so many are suffering in the midst of. Let us drop a couple of pebbles for all of those. Now we'll share the written words of our grief, growth, and gratitude. From Mary Keha, a concern. Michael and Betsy Leon for their bodies and financial well-being. For Angie Brummett for her eyes and knees. For Tom Keha for the finances. For Mary Keha's trees to be cut. For Cuba and all suffering countries. I look forward to Susanna Furst singing bowls here this afternoon at 3 o'clock to welcome spring, and all are invited for that. And from Wendy Franger, a gratitude. If you need a little inspiration, talk to an OWL student. Our 4th through 6th graders continue to impress us with their curiosity, their kindness, and their wisdom. And finally, we drop a pebble into the water for all the grief, gratitude, and moments of growth that remain in the sanctuary of our hearts. These joys and sorrows, too, are held in this community of care and by a love that is limitless. Now, please join us in a seated singing meditation of hymn number 1060 as we sing of hope and joy. Okay.
So,
So play it through once and then sing all the verses.
All right, so we have a reading for you now. This is Invocation for Difficult Times by Elena Westbrook. When all around us voices are raised in anger, hatred spilling into the streets and sparking more hatred, sometimes the best we can do is to sink our hands into the soil. Let the fights over abstractions ebb away, flow like water into the earth. Fill your fingers with dirt that it itself is the product of rocks worn to powder over millennia, leavened with particles of other lives, lives of leaves and vegetables and other animals, once as warm, as active as you are now. Everything dies and returns to its source, breaks down into the ingredients of some new life, bits of humus, squirming bacteria, a tiny egg. This is real, the sun warm on your back. the soil cool under your bare feet, a tiny new stem that will unfurl to grow a sweet red tomato, and the hand of a friend gently helping you to rise. Even on our most difficult days, we can touch the soil and be grateful for the earth and the love that sustains us. And the second reading is excerpt from How to Deal with Disappointment by Arthur C. Brooks. Our lives are filled with uncertain outcomes, often involving the things we care about the most deeply. To have any positive expectations means that disappointment is a part of life. This has led some thinkers to conclude that the only answer is pessimism. The 19th century philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer famously made this case when he argued, "We generally find pleasure to be not nearly so pleasant as we expected, and pain very much more painful." One conclusion from that, expect nothing good ever, or even expect the worst, and you'll never be disappointed. Then again, Schopenhauer was well known for being a miserable person, so that may not be the best strategy. Better, I believe, to maintain hope amid life's uncertainties, but to distinguish hope from optimism. Many people use the terms almost interchangeably, but they are different. Optimism involves an element of prediction, so expecting a good outcome in a way that may be borderline delusional. Hope involves the belief that even if a disappointing result to a situation occurs, you can do something to improve that outcome. In the words of one team of researchers on this subject, having the will and finding the way. Because of this, hope is far superior to optimism where happiness is concerned. Hope does not require that you make any prediction at all about what might happen. It simply asks that you believe that whatever happens, you will have the ability to make circumstances better, and you can give some thought in advance to what that action might be.
Thank you, Chad. And good morning again. This morning, I'd like to open with one of my favorite E.E. Cummings poems. That's a great thing about being the speaker. You can use all your favorites. I thank you, God, for this most amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees and a blue true dream of sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. I who have died am alive again today, and this is the sun's birthday. This is the birthday of life and of love and wings, and of the gay, great, happening, illimitably earth. How should tasting, touching, hearing, seeing, breathing any, lifted from the no of all nothing, human merely being, doubt unimaginable you? Now the ears of my ears awake, and now the eyes of my eyes are opened. When E.E. Cummings penned this poem in 1950, I think he had been experiencing a day much like today, with clear skies, trees greening up, flowers blooming, the world coming alive in spring, which we welcomed on Friday. I'm pretty sure it wasn't like Oxford a couple of months ago, with branches and treetops exploding around us from the weight of so much ice. Those same trees, at least the ones left standing, albeit a little bent or leaning, are now leafing out. Many of us would call that a sign of nature's resilience. Now, the word resilience has been with us since the 1620s, defined as the act of rebounding or springing back. By 1824, it was being used more in the physical sciences to mean elasticity, power of returning to original shape after compression. But it wasn't until 1973 that a Canadian forest ecologist named C.S. Holling used the word resilience for the first time to describe in detail resilience in a natural system. Now, I ask your forbearance as I share a little of Holling's original thinking, but I find it relevant to what we as members of our own community and country may be experiencing. Resilience, he described as a measure of the persistence of systems and of their ability to absorb change and disturbance and still maintain the same relationships between populations or related variables. In essence, the forest remains a forest. Holling went on to say, stability, on the other hand, is the ability of a system to return to an equilibrium state after a temporary disturbance, the more rapidly it returns and with the least fluctuation, the more stable it is, and the more likely it is to failure because it lacks resilience. Now think about that for a moment. The more stable a system, said Holling, the less resilience. Now, Holling was specifically talking about forest ecosystems, which in North America, particularly at that time, were increasingly being managed as farms. A single species, usually pine, all the same age, planted in large, uninterrupted swaths, which was good for timber and paper production, but proving to be problematic for the ecosystems and for the trees too, if a catastrophic insect outbreak were to occur, which they often experienced in Canada. Or as Holling said, the very approach, therefore, that assures a stable, maximum sustained yield of renewable resource, a lot of trees on a predictable set, might so change conditions that resilience is lost. A chance and rare event that previously could be absorbed might now trigger a sudden dramatic change and loss. A forest management approach based on resilience, on the other hand, would emphasize the need to keep options open, view events in a regional rather than in a local context, and the need to emphasize diversity. Flowing from this would be not the presumption of sufficient knowledge, but the recognition of our ignorance, not the assumption that future events are expected, but that they will be unexpected. He concluded, the resilience framework can accommodate this shift, for it does not require a precise capacity to predict the future, only a capacity to devise systems that can absorb and accommodate future events in whatever unexpected form they may take. Again, only a capacity to devise systems that can absorb and accommodate future events in whatever unexpected form they may take. In the context of optimism versus hope that Chad spoke of, being resilient, oops, lost my page. Being resilient doesn't require trying to optimistically predict what will happen. Being resilient means we hope to be ready to handle whatever comes next. In times of chaos like we're living through, that can be really tough. I was originally supposed to give this talk back in January or early February, whenever, it feels like years ago. It was actually just 2 months, but at the time I had in my mind to share and discuss some resilience questionnaires, look at strategies for being resilient, call it a day. Now, I'm not feeling very resilient anymore. I am tired. I'm uncharacteristically cranky. My yard was still littered with broken branches. My to-do list from February and March was in tatters. The weather's still roller coastering. My dad is having health events. Our dog is having health events. ICE is jailing innocent immigrants. We have a war on our hands. It's pretty chaotic. I've been finding it harder and harder, as one person put it, to grit and bear it. So I went back to Mr. Google and those resilience surveys to see what I might be doing wrong. I skimmed through several. They had questions like, I'm usually optimistic. I see difficulties as temporary and expect to overcome them. 1 for very little, 5 for very strong. I can tolerate high levels of ambiguity and uncertainty about situations. I adapt quickly to new developments. I'm good at bouncing back. The descriptor was typical. This descriptor is typical of what I found. Healthy, resilient people have stress-resistant personalities and learn valuable lessons from rough experiences. Resilience is the process of successfully adapting to difficult or challenging life experiences. Resilient people overcome adversity, bounce back from setbacks, and can thrive under extreme ongoing pressure without acting in dysfunctional or harmful ways. The most resilient people recover from traumatic experiences stronger, better, and wiser. Psychology Today, in fact, gave me a score of 91 out of 100 and said, maintain your positivity. Keep practicing self-compassion. Continue practicing self-care. But I didn't feel like I was bouncing back. I didn't feel bouncy at all. And then I clicked on yet another quiz, and I could immediately tell I wasn't doing so well on the quiz either. But the questions were different. Not what do you normally do, but how are you doing right now? No matter how much I do, I still feel behind. Not at all true of me, mostly true of me, completely true of me. I lose patience or get irritated more easily than usual. I'm not sleeping as well as I normally do. I feel like I should be handling stress better than I am. I was also feeling awfully true. Then I looked a little closer and I discovered I was participating in a quiz on whether or not I was close to reaching my resilience ceiling. Now, I don't know about you, but I had not considered resilience a finite resource. I thought of it as a mindset, that process described by psychology today. Grit and bear it. Perhaps you have a similar understanding. What this quiz indicated was what I'd known for a while, but wasn't quite acknowledging, which was that my resilience was running low, showing a few cracks, as it were. The toll of the political times and unexpected weather events and their aftermath and family challenges and perhaps eating a little less well and definitely sleeping a little less well. Well, they were catching up. The Resiliency Ceiling Quiz website noted, in today's demanding world, understanding your resilience ceiling and learning how to stay below it is essential for peace, joy, and meaning. But if I was basically doing what I should have to make me resilient, why did staying below that ceiling, what did staying below that ceiling even mean? And where were peace and joy? In terms of the quiz's author, it meant learning to become shatterproof. So I read the book because I'm that kind of person. And as E.E. Cummings said in the earlier poem, the eyes of my eyes were opened. What I like about the book, first and foremost, is that the findings are data-driven. There's 66 pages of footnote-sized font for the bibliography. The author, who holds a PhD in industrial and organizational psychology from Colorado State, pretty decent university, is an adept storyteller, weaving together data and anecdotes in a way that really resonated. More importantly, I found myself nodding again and again, both in recognition of my current feelings and in finding some steps that might indeed keep me below that resilient ceiling she referenced. The old saying goes, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And apparently, I was ready. As a natural scientist and student of business management theory, not psychology, I learned things that may be old to others of you. But if, like me, your resilience is feeling strained, that ceiling feels like it's cracking, and you're looking for a better way forward, I offered these insights that I gleaned and that might prove helpful for you. As humans, we thrive when 3 sets of personal needs are met, and they're not terribly different from some of the points Susan made. We want to feel and be perceived as confident and competent. We want to be worthy. We seek to have autonomy. The ability to make our own choices matters. And the third leg of thriving is connection that brings a sense of belonging and a song of belonging. These needs are hardwired into us through evolutionary history. Competent, confident ancestors survived. We feel safest when we believe that we know what we're doing. Similarly, ancestors who made good choices benefited, while others who made lesser choices perished. Being free to choose is at its core a survival instinct, and connection to a community meant a group had your back, while being ostracized risked losing everything, whether it was your tennis shoes or the car or your life. Not that our evolutionary traits serve us well in today's environment necessarily. While the threats modern humans face have changed, our survival systems have not. Fight or flight responses evolved against imminent physical dangers that required adrenaline and agility. Juggling deadlines and sitting stuck in traffic as you're trying to get to your plane, not so much. And the more dire freeze or faint mode triggered by danger the brain perceives as inescapable, Unless you're that kid facing a Jurassic Park T-Rex, probably not very applicable as a strategy for success. Flopping on the floor to a bad boss is not likely going to get you anywhere. Similarly, we are hardwired to give greater prominence to negative situations than to positive ones, because again, watching out for the bad things meant we stuck around long enough to become ancestors. So reminding ourselves that we have outgrown or outlasted the need for some of these hardwired responses can help us contextualize, if not fully discard, some of our angst. A coach of mine once called these things that served us well once, but no longer, our overused strengths. Helpful, but increasingly less so. On the other hand, confidence, agency, and connection continue to be positive attributes. So let's focus there. In the work that underpins Shatterproof, researchers spent years interviewing thousands of people about their resilience following a traumatic or otherwise challenging event. The events were subjective: a divorce, a failure at work, the loss of a loved one, a traumatic injury, whatever they felt was significant. Some people simply didn't bounce back. Some bounced back right to where they'd been, kind of like that compressed spring. And then some thrived and moved forward. The question was why? What made this third group better for the difficult experience? What did this third group do to not only regain their equilibrium, but in terms of Holling, to absorb and accommodate the unexpected so successfully? After much data analysis and reanalysis, it turned out their answers consistently included statements that fell into one of the following three categories. I made myself or the situation better. I introspected to understand myself and make more authentic choices. I used the situation to make things better for others or the world. What the researchers came to realize was that those three responses aligned with those three needs for thriving. Making yourself or the situation better increased confidence and competence. Understanding yourself better so you could make better choices in the future strengthened your sense of agency. And making things better for others aligned with an increased sense of connection and belonging. Not that achieving these outcomes were necessarily easy or straightforward. Experimentation was a core tenet. Inertia and frustration could thwart their attempts. But if they persisted, their outcomes over time were positive and progressive. They remained resilient. Reading about this, I flashed back to the first term of our current president. Don and I had only moved to Oxford a couple of months before the election, so our connections and sense of belonging locally were pretty low. But I was already semi-retired, so I had freedom to make some choices. And I had a strong skill set that I was confident could be put to use to make things better for somebody. Some of those I feared were going to be harmed by the new administration if they acted upon their campaign promises. I volunteered in a couple of roles before I found my footing as a pro bono fundraiser for the Yoknapatawpha Arts Council. And I'd felt empowered and positive, despite what we thought then was chaotic. Little did we know. And as I read, I realized why I'd felt so vibrant. I was thriving then, and I could be again. And I want to mention right now, Sufino, because this woman embodies everything I've talked about. She started doing electioneering when she'd never done it before. She started gathering people, set up Fridays, it's all Sufino. And she started prioritizing, I'm going to focus on healthcare because I can make a difference there. So if you want to see somebody doing this in action, there's the woman to look at. And she doesn't seem any less the worse for wear, or any the worse for wear. I know it's hard, but that's my role model. So I just had to rethink my overused strengths, like grit and bear it, like just wanting things to go back the way they were, like saying yes, because I could be good at something, learn something new, and expand my sense of connection. But saying yes too often means I don't have the time to do everything well. And more importantly, it can mean I don't have time to do what matters most to me. So among other things, I'll be choosing to scale back on my yeses, not here at UUCO, as I rethink and realign with my priorities and seek to regain my sense of resilience. Now, you might notice this morning we don't have any coffee. We had nobody to do it, and we had nobody to clean up. Now, one response would be, we need more volunteers, get off your asses, go make coffee. On the other hand, what we might need to do is rethink how important is using our resources to make coffee, most of which gets thrown away, because I'm usually on the cleanup team, or all those wonderful cookies or wonderful things Becky bakes and then takes home. So part of it is not just me, but it's rethinking, how do we make this the space people need us to be? And it may not look like it used to. For most of us, potential priorities can be distilled down into a pretty discrete list of options. And those of you who know me know I'm a lumper, not a splitter. So if these seem overly broad, keep that in mind. But if you think about it, these are the things, one or more of these likely matters most to you. Physical and mental health, work and career, marriage and romantic relationships, broader family and friends, personal growth, creative or leisure pursuits, volunteering or other community engagements, or spirituality and religion. If you prioritize one or two of those, they might just be what you need to strengthen your confidence, agency, and connection. Don't spread yourself too thin. Take it one at a time. To bring us back to where we started on resilience, C.S. Holling didn't just define resilience and call it a day. 30 years after his seminal article was published, he and others released a new study that synthesized the subsequent 3 decades of resilience research into a sort of system continuum. And again, they're still looking at the natural environment. There was resilience, the ability to bounce back. There was adaptability now, which interestingly was defined as resilience influencers, things that could improve or harm resilience. And then transformability, which was the capacity to create a fundamentally new system when the old system had become untenable. I think these findings still surprisingly feel applicable to our own current situation. And as to the beautiful spring day outside these doors, my final suggestion is to let a little awe enter your life today. For the leaping greenly spirit of trees and a blue true stream of sky. Awe has been shown to make people happier, healthier, less stressed, more humble, more creative, and more connected to the people around them. Pretty much hits the big 3. Awe is probably one of our most underused strengths. So don't hold back. Go forth and be your awesome selves. Our meditation is an old story by Tracy K. Smith. We were made to understand it would be terrible. Every small want, every niggling urge, every hate swollen to a kind of epic wind. Livid the land and ravaged like a rageful dream, the worst in us having taken over and broken the rest utterly down. A long age passed, when at last we knew how little would survive us, how little we had mended or built that was not now lost. Something large and old awoke. And then our singing brought on a different manner of weather. We have smashed sound barriers between us. We have dared again and again and yet again to dream. And our dreams have finally taken material form. We have changed our hearts. We have altered and changed our minds. And because of this, we now have some valor and strength, and we are threatening to change the world. That it might be a better place for us and for all God's children, for all that we are, for all that we might be. We have done it, and we rise now as one voice with many harmonies through the mystery and beauty of harmony. One voice. Please join us in our closing hymn, Turn the, oh, that was supposed to be our chalice. Well, sorry, Chad, would you want that? Now, please join us in our closing hymn, number 1074.
This one we've never done, and it's pretty difficult, so it might evolve into me just playing it through, because it might be hard, like, you won't hear the tune, so maybe next time we do it, you can
It's a little quirky, and, but what we're gonna do, if you look at the book, we're gonna sing the first 3 verses. Then we're gonna sing the 2 verses on the 3rd page. And then we're gonna go to another set of 3 verses. So hang in there, but I loved it, and Tycho loved it, and we thought, what the hell, we'd give it a shot. It's really pretty, and it's really fun if somebody knows how to sing. It is, it's a Harry Belafonte song. He sang it at, I think he sang it at Martin Luther King's funeral. Yeah, it's a really cool song. All right, Chad, bring us home.
We'll get some more practice on that. Sending forth into the wider community beyond these doors, let us offer our congregational blessing printed in our order of service. Go in peace, believe in peace, create peace, be peace. Thank you all.